Welcome to the journey through the 7 stages of spiritual awakening. This is not a linear progression, but a spiral of expanding consciousness. Each stage is a layer that brings us closer to our true nature. From the first whisper of restlessness in our soul to moments of profound realization, each phase of this journey reveals different aspects of ourselves and the universe. It's a path of self-discovery, challenges, and surprising revelations. Remember, spiritual awakening is not about becoming something we are not, but rather about unveiling who we have always been beneath layers of conditioning. It's like cleaning a dusty mirror, revealing the clarity that has always been present. There is a moment in every human being's life when the ordinary ceases to be enough. You might be driving your car, eating your breakfast, or simply watching the sunset when suddenly a question emerges from the depths. Is this all there is? This restlessness is not a simple dissatisfaction with life. It's not about wanting a better job or a more fulfilling relationship. It's something deeper, more fundamental. It's as if, for the first time, you realize you're breathing rarefied air, even without having climbed any mountain. In ancient Vedic scriptures, this moment is compared to the awakening of a person who dreams they are dreaming. It's not yet the complete awakening, but it's the first moment of awareness that there is something beyond apparent reality. Zen masters call this the first crack in the cup. This primordial restlessness manifests differently for each person. For some, it comes as a deep melancholy that no worldly pleasure can alleviate. For others, it arises as a burning curiosity about the mysteries of existence. There are still those who experience a sudden perception of the impermanence of all things. I remember a seeker who came to me. He was the CEO of a large company, had achieved everything society considers valuable: money, status, family, respect. Still, he told me, every night, I lay my head on the pillow feeling that something fundamental is missing. It's as if I had built the most beautiful palace but had forgotten to make the entrance door. This feeling that something is missing is the universe's first gift to the spiritual seeker. It is a sacred discomfort. Many try to escape it through increasingly elaborate distractions. Some sink into work, others into sensory pleasures. There are those who seek power or fame. But for those who have the courage to face this restlessness, it becomes the first key to deeper dimensions of existence. It's important to understand that this stage is not a mistake or a problem to be solved. It is a sacred call. Just as the seed must feel the restlessness of breaking its shell for the tree to emerge, human consciousness needs this initial disturbance to begin its journey of expansion. In Sufi mystical traditions, there's a story of a fish that swam through the ocean asking all the other fish, "Where is the ocean? I need to find the ocean." Everyone laughed at him, for he was already in the ocean. This is the beauty and irony of the first stage. What we seek is already here, but we need the search to realize this truth. Primordial restlessness is also the moment when we begin to perceive the difference between knowledge and wisdom. We may have accumulated vast knowledge about the world, but we realize that this does not answer the most fundamental questions of our existence. It's like having a detailed map of a territory, but never having set foot in it. This is the moment to honor your restlessness. Don't try to silence it with ready-made answers or superficial solutions. Allow it to move you towards the unknown. For it is only when we allow ourselves not to know that we open ourselves to true discoveries. Primordial restlessness is the universe whispering in your ear, "Wake up, there is more, much more." It's the first ray of sunlight penetrating the darkness of a purely mechanical existence. It's the beginning of a journey that will transform not only your view of the world, but your very essence. When the initial restlessness settles in, something extraordinary happens. An insatiable thirst for knowledge awakens. It's as if, suddenly, you discovered that you're in an infinite library, where each book contains secrets about existence. This is not a common thirst. It's a thirst that no mundane water can quench. In this stage, the seeker becomes like a bee, flying from flower to flower, tasting the nectar of different spiritual traditions. You might find them studying the Upanishads in the morning, practicing Zen meditation at noon, and delving into Sufi mystics at night. It's a period of intense exploration and discovery. Once, a young monk asked his master, "Why do we need to study so much if the truth is already within us?" The master responded by serving tea in a dirty cup. The young man protested, "The cup is dirty. The master smiled and said, "Exactly. Knowledge doesn't create truth, it cleans the vessel so it can be perceived." This is a crucial stage where many seekers can get lost in two extremes. The first is the compulsive accumulation of theoretical knowledge, turning spirituality into a purely intellectual activity. It's like someone who extensively studies swimming but never enters the water. The second extreme is the premature discarding of knowledge in the name of supposed direct experience. It's like trying to build a house without a foundation. The balance lies in understanding that knowledge is a tool, not the end goal. Ancient scriptures are maps left by those who made the journey before us. They are not the territory itself, but they can help us navigate it with more wisdom. During this stage, you might find yourself participating in different workshops and retreats, reading sacred texts from various traditions, experimenting with different meditation techniques, seeking teachers and masters, exploring energy and body practices. It's as if your entire being transforms into a radar, constantly tuned to capture signals of wisdom. You begin to see profound meanings in everyday events. A falling leaf can become a lesson about impermanence, a flying bird can reveal truths about freedom. I remember a lady who came to one of our programs. She had studied with various masters, practiced numerous techniques, read hundreds of books. "I have so much knowledge," she said, "but I still feel empty." I told her, knowledge is like fuel, necessary for the journey, but it's not the destination. There will come a time when you'll need to burn all that knowledge to generate the light of experience. This is also the stage where we begin to develop discernment. Not all spiritual knowledge is useful or true. One must develop the ability to separate the essential from the superfluous, the authentic from the artificial. It's like a goldsmith who learns to distinguish true gold from imitations. Ancient traditions speak of three types of knowledge. 1. Shruti, what is heard from masters. 2. Smriti, what is studied in texts. 3. Anubhava, what is directly experienced. All have their place and time. Theoretical knowledge must gradually transform into experiential understanding. It's like learning a new language. First you study grammar, then you start speaking, until one day you dream in that language. This stage is like preparing the soil for a garden. You are acquiring the necessary tools, learning about the seasons, studying about plants. But remember, the most beautiful garden is not born just from knowledge, but from constant love and care. There is a moment in the spiritual journey when the universe places a mirror before us, and for the first time, we see not just our superficial face, but all the masks we carry. This is the stage of inner confrontation, perhaps the most intense and transformative of the 7 stages. Imagine a deep and murky lake. For years, all dirt and sediment have been accumulating at the bottom. When you start stirring the water to clean it, initially it becomes even murkier. This is exactly how inner confrontation works. Before reaching clarity, we need to face all the turbulence. Once, a disciple came to me desperate. "Master, before starting my spiritual practice, I felt like a good person. Now I perceive thoughts and emotions I never imagined having. Am I getting worse?" I responded with a question. If you turn on a light in a dark room and see the dirt that was always there, has the room gotten worse or have you just gained more clarity? In this stage, we encounter our denied aspects. Repressed anger, ancestral fears, unresolved traumas, unconscious desires, limiting patterns, self-destructive beliefs. It's like a deep cleaning in an old house. In every corner you look, you find something that needs to be processed. Many seekers try to escape this stage, seeking only positive and elevated experiences. But running from the shadow is like trying to run from your own shadow. The more you run, the more it chases you. Ancient tantric traditions deeply understand this process. They teach us that real transformation doesn't come from denying our shadow aspects, but from their conscious integration. It's like an alchemist who doesn't reject lead, but learns to transform it into gold. During this stage, you may experience periods of intense emotional instability, identity crises, deep questioning about your life choices, memories and traumas resurfacing, relational patterns being exposed, confrontations with your own mortality. In the caves of Tibet, there are specific practices where monks meditate in cemeteries or isolated places, confronting their deepest fears. Not because they seek the morbid, but because they understand that true spiritual courage is not in denying the dark, but in bringing light to it. This is also the stage where many relationships are tested. When you begin to see yourself more clearly, you naturally begin to see others more clearly as well. Some friendships may not survive this new level of honesty, while others deepen in extraordinary ways. A crucial aspect of this stage is the development of compassion, first for yourself, then for others. When you confront your own shadows with acceptance, you naturally develop more understanding for the struggle of others. It's as if your wounds transform into sources of wisdom. Inner confrontation is not a linear process. You may go through several layers, each revealing new aspects to be integrated. It's like peeling an onion. Each layer removed reveals another deeper layer. The key to navigating this stage is to stay present. Don't fully identify with the darkness that emerges, but also don't try to suppress it. Be a compassionate witness to your own process. It's like holding the hand of a scared child. Your own inner child. After the turbulent period of inner confrontation, a moment of profound transformation emerges. Sacred surrender. Don't confuse surrender with giving up. Giving up comes from weakness. Surrendering comes from understanding. It's like a river that doesn't fight against its natural course, simply flows towards the ocean. In ancient Sufi traditions, there's a story about a master who asked his disciples, "How do you know when the night is over and the day has begun?" One said, "When you can distinguish a dog from a sheep at a distance." Another answered, "When you can distinguish a fig tree from an olive tree." The master shook his head and said, "You know the night is over and the day has begun when you look at any face and recognize your brother or sister. Until then, it's still night in your heart." This is the essence of sacred surrender, the moment when artificial divisions begin to disappear. The ego, which until then struggled to maintain control, begins to perceive its own illusory nature. It's like a closed fist that finally opens, discovering there was never anything to hold. In this stage, you experience deep acceptance of the present moment, decreased need for control, gradual dissolution of resistances, trust in the flow of life, peace with uncertainty, openness to mystery. There's a Zen story about a master who was being chased by bandits. Reaching the edge of a cliff, he had two options: be captured or jump. He jumped. During the fall, he spotted a strawberry bush growing on the side of the cliff. He picked the strawberry and ate it, exclaiming, "How delicious!" This is the quality of surrender, the ability to be fully present, even amidst apparent chaos. Sacred surrender doesn't mean passivity. On the contrary, it's a state of intense presence and receptivity. It's like a skilled sailor who doesn't fight against the wind, but learns to use its force to navigate. You continue acting in the world, but action arises from a different place, no longer from the ego, but from existence itself flowing through you. During this stage, many people experience increased synchronicities, feeling of being guided, decreased anxiety about the future, greater ease in letting go of the past, deep gratitude for life as it is, deeper connection with the present moment. In tantric traditions, there's a practice called pratyahara. It's not about closing the senses to the world, but about completely surrendering to the sensory experience without judgment. It's like diving into the ocean. You don't try to control the waves, you move with them. A crucial aspect of this stage is the dissolution of the doer. You begin to realize that life happens through you, not by you. It's like a flutist who realizes it's not him creating the music. He just removes the obstacles for the music to flow through the flute. Surrender also brings a new understanding about suffering. You realize that much of suffering doesn't come from situations themselves, but from resistance to them. It's like swimming against the current. The effort creates suffering. When you learn to flow with life, even difficulties are experienced differently. This is also the stage where many seekers experience profound emotional healing, not because they're actively trying to heal, but because surrender itself allows stagnant energies to naturally flow again. When surrender deepens sufficiently, something extraordinary happens. The walls that seem to separate the individual from the universal begin to dissolve. It's as if you've been living in a small room all your life and suddenly the walls disappear, revealing an infinite universe. This expansion is not a philosophical concept or an abstract idea. It's a visceral experience. Hindu mystics call this Brahman Anubhava, the direct experience of the infinite. It's as if every cell in your body begins to awaken to its true cosmic nature. Once a disciple asked, "How can I expand my consciousness?" I replied, "Your consciousness is already infinite. The question is not how to expand, but how to stop contracting. It's like an ocean that dreams of being a water droplet and then awakens to its true nature." During this stage, you may experience deep states of unity with everything, dissolution of ego boundaries, spontaneous mystical experiences, direct perception of the interconnection of all things, moments of inexplicable ecstasy, insights that transcend logical mind. In the Himalayan caves, there's an ancient practice where the meditator contemplates the night sky until the distinction between observer and observed disappears. It's not about imagining unity, it's about recognizing a unity that has always been present. This stage brings profound changes in how you experience time. Linear time begins to lose its rigidity, moments of eternity in the now, transcendence of concerns with past and future space. The sense of spatial separation diminishes, experience of inner vastness, perception of consciousness as non-local identity, dissolution of limiting identifications, recognition of being as pure consciousness, experience of being everything and nothing simultaneously. A Zen master, when asked about enlightenment, drew a circle in the air. When questioned about the meaning, he simply drew another circle. In cosmic expansion, you begin to directly understand this kind of nonverbal communication. It's as if existence itself becomes a language you've always known but had forgotten. This expansion also brings unique challenges. The nervous system needs to adapt to higher frequencies of energy. It's like an electrical transformer that needs to adjust to a higher voltage. There may occur increased sensitivity, periods of intense energy, need for solitude and silence, changes in sleep patterns, alterations in sensory perception. In tantric traditions, this stage is compared to the blooming of the thousand-petaled lotus, the Sahasrara chakra. It's not just an opening at the top of the head, but a flowering of the entire consciousness. Each petal represents a different dimension of reality revealing itself simultaneously. Cosmic expansion also brings a new understanding of love, no longer as an emotion directed at specific objects or people, but as the very nature of existence. It's like discovering that the ocean isn't wet, it is water itself. After cosmic expansion, one of the greatest challenges of the spiritual path emerges, bringing the infinite into the finite, the extraordinary into the ordinary. This is the stage of divine integration, where heaven and earth meet in your own existence. Many seekers after transcendental experiences want to remain in the heights of expanded consciousness. It's like a bird that has discovered the sky and no longer wants to touch the ground. But true mastery is not about escaping the world, it's about bringing the light of consciousness to every aspect of everyday life. In Zen traditions, there is an old saying, "Before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water." The difference is not in the action, but in the quality of presence you bring to it. It's as if every common act becomes a sacred dance. During this stage, you learn to maintain expanded consciousness in mundane situations, transform everyday activities into spiritual practices, balance the transcendent with the immanent, live simultaneously in multiple dimensions, bring spiritual wisdom to practical relationships, manifest inner visions in the outer world. There was a Sufi master known for his ability to be in divine ecstasy while working as a cobbler in the market. When asked how he managed to combine such different states, he replied, "The sun illuminates both the palace and the hut without losing its brilliance." Divine integration manifests at different levels. Body, the physical becomes a living temple. Everyday actions become sacred gestures. Vital energy flows without obstacles. Mind, thoughts arise from stillness. Intellect becomes an instrument of wisdom. Creativity flows naturally. Relationships, each encounter becomes an opportunity to share light. Unconditional love manifests naturally. Clear boundaries without separation. This is also the stage where many discover their dharma, their sacred purpose, not as an imposed mission, but as a natural expression of their deepest being. It's like a rose that doesn't need to decide to be fragrant. It's its nature. A crucial aspect of this stage is the development of what Buddhists call upaya, skillful means. You learn to translate transcendental truths into language and actions that can benefit others. It's like a musician who has mastered both technique and inspiration, able to create music that touches the soul. During this period, you may experience constant synchronicities, increased manifestation ability, clarity about your role in the whole, dissolution of separation between sacred and profane, deep gratitude for existence in all its forms, ability to be in the world but not of the world. In tantric traditions, this stage is symbolized by the union of Shiva and Shakti, pure consciousness dancing with creative energy. It's no longer about escaping the material world, but about transforming it into an expression of the divine. Integration also brings a new understanding of service. It's no longer something you do, but something you are. Like the sun that naturally radiates light and heat, your very existence becomes a blessing to others. At the apex of the spiritual journey, we encounter a sublime paradox. The end point is identical to the starting point, but seen with completely new eyes. Supreme realization is not a state to be achieved, but the recognition of what has always been. It's like an ocean that has gone through countless waves to discover its true watery nature. There is no longer a seeker, no longer a search, only being in its indivisible totality. The ancient Upanishads call this Aham Brahmasmi, I am the whole. At this stage, existence becomes a perfect mirror. There is no longer a distinction between inner and outer, observer and observed. It's like a drop of water that has realized its true oceanic nature without ceasing to be a drop. Characteristics of supreme realization: consciousness, natural state of non-duality, absolute presence without effort, eternal and unchanging witness, complete transcendence of ego, experience. Each moment is complete in itself. There is no more seeking or achieving. Life flows without resistance. Profound simplicity in everything. Action, spontaneous movement without a doer, natural service without a server, divine creativity without a creator, universal love without a lover. Once, a disciple asked his master, "What is it like to live in the state of supreme realization?" The master responded by picking up a falling leaf, exactly like this leaf, completely surrendered to the wind, with no specific destination, yet arriving precisely where it should. This stage transcends all descriptions, as it is prior to language itself. It's like trying to describe the taste of water to someone who has never tasted it. However, some signs can be observed: complete absence of internal conflict, permanent dissolution of the sense of separation, natural equanimity in all situations, spontaneous compassion for all beings, absolute freedom from the bonds of karma, presence that naturally elevates others. In Zen traditions, there's a story of a master who, upon reaching supreme realization, was asked how he felt. He simply continued sweeping the temple garden. This is the beauty of realization, the extraordinary ordinariness of simply being. Supreme realization is not a state of perpetual ecstasy as many imagine. It's a state of profound naturalness, where both joy and sorrow flow freely, without leaving residues. It's like the sky that remains unchanged while clouds of different shapes pass through it. At this stage, you directly understand the inherent perfection of each moment, the fundamental illusion of separation, the empty nature of all phenomena, the eternal dance between form and void, the underlying unity of all diversity, the ineffable mystery of being. It's important to note that supreme realization is not the end of the journey, but the true beginning. It's like a garden that has reached its full maturity. Now it can continuously offer fruits without effort. As we conclude our exploration of the 7 stages of spiritual awakening, we remember that each journey is unique. These stages are not rigid compartments, but waves of consciousness that intertwine. Key points to remember: each moment is an opportunity to awaken. Challenges are the path itself. Self-compassion is essential. Simplicity is the height of spiritual sophistication. Awakening is an ongoing journey, not a final destination. Even in supreme realization, there is infinite expansion. May your journey be illuminated by clarity, courage, and compassion. Continue exploring, questioning, and above all, being. The universe is within you, waiting to be discovered. Thank you for watching.